All right, let's see how far we got last week. All right, so this is what we were working on last week, and we had on the source, we had implemented several components that allowed us to implement some of the use cases for the user, be able to log in, be able to register, be able to look at their profile. And we also introduced using routing to be able to navigate between the various views from either logging in or registering or looking at our profile or navigating to a particular list of websites for a particular user who had logged in. So let's see. We should be able to start this up. This would be ng serve open. And I think this was the beginning, right? The login. There we go. So this view was implemented by the login component that is right here. That implements the this form that allows users to type in their username and password. When you clicked on it, was handled by this event handler that was implemented by the component that accompanies the template. Okay, the component took in as argument the username and password. It passed it along to the user service, and the user service locally iterated over an array of users looking for the username and password. When it found the matching, it would return the instance of the user that was hosted here on the user service. So today, we would like to move all this to the server side. Okay? Instead of doing it here on the client side, we would like to do this on the server side. Also find user by ID is also, we would like to move that over to the server side. Right? Once the component found the user, when it came back here with the user, it would check to see if indeed it got a user instance, and if found the user instance, would navigate to the profile for that particular user, right? And I believe the assignment asks you to use user, not profile. I believe it's a little bit different on how we ask you to do it for the assignment. Nevertheless, we use the Angular's navigate from the router library. Right, from the router library allows you to programmatically navigate to a route. This route was configured in the routing here, was configured to routing as this profile/user ID, right, which navigate to the profile component. The profile component would render the profile component right here that rendered the user ID and also provided a form that allowed you to display the current user who has just logged in, their username, their password, first name, last name, and also an update button to be able to update. So if I have Alice and I log in, it navigates to Alice's profile. But if I log in as Bob and I log in, I see Bob's information, right? Let's see. We also linked the profile to its websites. So these were the websites for that particular user who currently logged in. Notice that we created links that dynamically use the user ID to build a URL that would navigate me to that particular list of websites. Now this route, right, mapped to a component. So if we go back to the routing, notice that that route maps to this particular path, right? Profile user ID / website, which then navigated to a particular website list component, right? And the website list component rendered a list of websites, iterated over those websites, which were retrieved. Let's see, were retrieved by a static list of websites. In this case, it's a static list of websites. Typically, it would fetch this from a service, right, from a website service, as opposed to just hard coding it like this. Okay, so presumably you did it correctly and implemented this, put this behind a web service. Yes? So today's class is we're going to try and enhance this implementation so that instead of using this hard-coded content on the client side, instead it's going to go out and fetch some of this data from the server. All right? Okay. All right. So let's see how do we start. So typically what we like to be able to do is start moving some of the hard-coded content over to a server, right, and start to expose some of this data at a particular URL endpoint, right, so that we can then come back here on the client side, right, and then ask for that data, right. Right now there is nothing to ask. The server, there's no server, right, to host any of this data. Okay, so let's focus now on implementing a little bit on the server side. What do we need, right, to be able to expose this data to a client? Okay, so let's take a look at the server side.